Hi everybody. In this tutorial and then the coming tutorials, you are going to learn the programming language C. So the chapters that is covered in the coming tutorials are the general introduction, where you are going to learn the general information about a programming language which is not specific to C, and then the second chapter is going to be the introduction to C, where you learn some specific stuffs which is related to the C programming language, and then the third chapter is going to be the control and then the looping statements like if, for, and all the other stuffs, and then arrays and import and chapter pointers, and then functions, structures, files, and lost data structures. So the first chapter, the general introduction. So before you start a programming language, to learn a programming language, so first of all you need to know what a programming language is exactly. So for example, if I just call a person and then if I just ask him to add two numbers, so this is a kind of vague question for him, where we have not mentioned like what are the two numbers he have to add and what kind of values it is going to be, whether both the two numbers are going to be a round value or both the two values are going to be decimal value. So you have not mentioned anything about the data that he have to deal with, but you are just asking him to add two numbers. So naturally he will come up with the first question of what is the first number. So if for instance I say him as 10, and then he asks the next question, what is the second number? I give him as 20, and then he does a mathematical calculation of 10 plus 20 and then just gives me the result as 30. So these are the steps that he actually follows in order to find the sum of two numbers. So first he asks the first number, and then he gets the second number, and then he does a mathematical calculation of adding those two numbers, and then finally he gives the result. So this is what exactly happens in a programming language. So in a programming language you will be given a particular problem, and then you need to know like what are the steps that is required to solve that particular problem. For example, in this case, if you see, when I just say to add two numbers, so the case is like, first of all you need to get the two numbers as input, and then you need to find the sum of those two numbers and then just give the result to the person. So these are the steps that you actually follow in order to solve this particular problem. So a language is nothing but a set of instructions to solve a particular problem. And there is another thing called as package. For example, if you take an application like calculator, now if you take this application, I can do the same process over here, just give the value as 10 and then just give plus and then 20, then when I plus equal to, it gives me the output as 30. So it's exactly the same thing. So now what is the difference between the language and then the package is actually, so package has got lot of built-in functions inside it. So for example, if you take the calculator, using the calculator you can do mathematical calculations. So you can take another application like paintbrush, where you can just create some drawings. So you have some specific functions or capabilities that is built in inside that particular application. So what you do in case of package is just go and then use what is there, and you cannot do your own stuffs with the packages. So whereas a language is actually, you don't have anything, you just have the problem, and then you have to find out like what are the steps to solve that particular problem, and then just put all those steps as a programming language. So a programming language will have only syntaxes. For example, if you take the first step, that is giving the first number as input. Now what you actually here need to do is, you need to ask the computer to get the first number as input from the programmer or the end user, and then in the second line you ask the computer to get the second number, and in the third line you ask the computer to find the sum of the two numbers that it has received from the user, and at last you ask the computer to display the result. So in order to command, or in order to make this computer to do some particular task, you have some special set of rules or a special syntaxes or a special grammar that you need to follow. So in this languages you just read all those options or all those grammars or the syntaxes that you need to use in your instructions. So when you ask your computer to get a number as input, now how will you ask your computer to get a number as input? Now what is the statement or what is the line that I have to use? So this line will have a particular syntax which will command the computer to get a number as an input from the user. So these syntaxes only you'll be studying in the languages, and if you see, this syntaxes will slightly vary from one language to the other language. So basically if you learn C language, it's quite easy to learn the rest of the languages because almost the syntax is same like the C language if you consider the other languages like C++ or Java or whatever it is. Okay, so now in order to perform all these tasks that you have to study all those syntaxes, so which we are going to cover one by one in the coming chapters.